Hello everyone, welcome to my video today. I'm losing my voice. I do this every fall, and so I'm going to try to make this video, but if I get too raspy, I will just have to redo it later. So let's get started. Today I'm going to bring you 3 techniques to using die cuts. Uh, Mainly background die cuts, but I might throw a couple other ones in there. So let's start with this one first. So for this card, I am using this die cut right here, and I don't want it to cut all the way through. So what I did was I layered it on my card. Then I made my sandwich. If you have a die cut machine, you know what a sandwich is. So I had my base plate. I had a B plate. Then I put down this rubber pad. Then I put my paper and my die cut. I taped it down in place. Then I put a couple of shims because I needed them to give me enough depth to go through. And then I put another B plate. And that I made my sandwich. Then I just fed that through my machine. I'm not going to do that on camera, but that's how you make the sandwich. And by having this rubber mat underneath, it makes an impression. It doesn't cut it out, it just makes this impression. So even though this is a die cut, you can emboss with it. Now to finish this card, I'm going to show you how to make your flowers dimensional. So I have this little kit from Heartfelt Creations, Deluxe Flower Shaping Kit, and it has a rubber mat in it. If you don't have this kit, or you don't want to get it, I found a thick mouse pad, and I use my mouse pad most of the time. But today I'm just using this out of the kit. Then I'm going to take one of these tools that has a little ball on the end. There's all different sizes, and I'm going to use this tool. So here's some different sized ones. And what you do, after you've stamped your flower, you spray it with some water, just a fine light mist. Just kind of spray it upside down, so not on the colored side. Then you take your little ball tool and you just rub it around the edges, and that will, or press. I like to press, and that gives you a bit of character, dimension. So we're going to do that on all 3 of these flowers. And you're saying, okay, but it's curling up backwards. Well, that's all right. In a second, we're going to flip them over. And then we just kind of press in the center. Just kind of how, you can make your flower however you like. But this is the way I do it. So then we have kind of this dimensional flower. I'm just kind of pressing it in, giving a little bit of wrinkles here and there, make it a little more interesting. Okay, so that part's done. And those will dry. When they dry, they'll dry pretty solid, and they will keep their shape. I have these leaves that I would do the same thing on, and I'm not going to glue all this down, but just to save time. But then I would just layer my flowers and my leaves on this card to finish it up. because really I wanted to show you this more than the flowers. But so I would glue all this down, probably use some pop dots so that there's a little bit of dimension there. And I have this nice embossed border, and I can put a little saying or sentiment up there. So that's card number 1. Okay, let's move on to card number 2. Clear some of this stuff out of my way. So for this card, what I'm going to do is I have my card base. It's 4¼ by 5½. I have a piece of pattern paper. I have some circle die cuts. And I'm using this stamp set. It's from Close to My Heart. I'm not sure what it's called. I don't think you can get it anymore. I'm sorry about that. I always seem to use stamps you can't get anymore. But I liked this fox in here. So what I'm going to do with this is pattern piece it. So I cut out my circle already from a pattern piece of paper. There you can see the pattern. And I will just stick that on my card back. Tape it. Well, before I tape it down, I want to give it a little more dimension. So I'm going to take some paper bag ink from Altenew. And I've done this technique before. I'm going to get my sponge in the ink. And then I'm just going to sponge it around the edge of my circle. And that just kind of gives it a little maybe antique-ish effect or a border or something. Anyway, I like to do that. I do it on most of my projects. And then I'm just going to put the circle about right there. Now, I took some scrap paper and I stamped my fox on just white. And then I stamped him on brown. And we're going to cut the brown pieces out and make him kind of a dimensional fox. So I want to cut out this part of his head right there. And we're not using all of that, so I can just cut it right off. Okay. Then we're going to glue that down in a minute. So I want to use that part, and I want to use the body part. So I need to finish cutting off this head. And cut around the body. And then cut off the tail. And for all these projects, I am just using leftover scrap paper. So you can put your little scraps to good use. I'm going to just glue this down. And I am using Art Glitter Dries Clear Adhesive. And I got this at Heartfelt Creations. And it came with these tips, and I really love this tiny little tip on there. So let's stick that one on. that. And then we'll stick his body on. I don't know, every year I have to get this. I lose my voice. I don't know why I do that, but I do. So there we have a dimensional fox. And I want even more dimension on my card. So I'm going to take some of this tape and put on the back of my fox so that he will stand out a little bit. So these are just some fun ways to use your die cuts, your scrap paper, and create a fun card. Let's see, I'm going to put some brown around his edges too, so that he stands out from the back of the card. Doesn't blend right in there. Okay, now I'll just stick him on there. And then I will add a sentiment to this card as well. So that's card number 2, using our die cuts. Okay, now this third one is a little bit more detailed. So let me clear some of this stuff out of the way, and we'll get to the third card. So on this card, what I'm going to do is I took this plaid die cut from Altenew. It's 2 sets. So this is plate A, and then this is plate B. And you can cut them out and layer them together, and it creates a really cool effect. So there's a black and red one that I made with it. This one, I'm only going to use this plate. And I've already cut it out just to save time. But I just put my paper on there and ran it through my die cut machine. And I have my card back that I made out of the same color. And it's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And then I held this over my card, and I drew in squares where the big squares are, because I'm going to stamp in those squares. So we'll set that aside for a moment. I have these stamps here. This is not a set. They came as individual pieces, and I just put them all together because they're kind of the same theme. So I'm going to use this fish stamp and this tree. Well, I think the fish stamp and this grass. Now, go more together, I think. Okay, so I'm just going to stamp these with acrylic block. And I'm going to stamp them in black. So if you can see on here, I marked my squares so I know where to stamp. And I'm just creating as I go, deciding where I want to put my fish. I think I'll put one there. I'm going to move him over a little bit and put one there. And move him the other way and put one there. Okay. And then I'm going to take that grass and do, and let me stamp on a piece of scrap paper, make sure I know which direction I want to go. So I need to go the other direction. Yep. Okay. So I'm going to stamp in this square, in this square, and this square. Okay. Now I'm going to glue this on to my card. And this is our background die cut that we used. And this is just kind of a fun way to use it as a frame, kind of like, for my stamping. So I didn't put all of these cards together, but all I have to do is finish gluing them and sticking them on and stamping the sentiment. So within just a little few minutes, we made 3 fun cards using our background die cuts and some stamps. And for the fox, I guess I used a circle, which is a shape die cut. But that's just a way to get more out of your supplies. I know you put a lot of money into buying all this stuff, and then you it just kind of sits there and you look at it thinking, what should I do with it? So hopefully I gave you some ideas of what to do with it. Now this, what I'm doing, rubbing on the back. If you want something to stick down and not come off, turn it over and rub it really good on the back, and you'll get a nice stick there, and it is not going to come off. I mean, if you use the undo, then of course it will, but so there we have our stamping. We have our little frame. Looks like I need a little more glue right there. And I can make a 3-dimensional sentiment and put across here. And then I would have that card finished too. So those are 3 cards with 3 background dies, or a shape die. That's not that, well, it's a background, but it's more of a shape too. And I hope that you learned some ways to use what you have on hand. So grab your supplies and go out and create. Thanks for watching me, and have a good day. Bye.